Hey everyone, and welcome back to this Forge College Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to be hanging out with you today. Now, in our last lesson, we were geeking out over applying benchmarks and collecting metrics, making sure our systems hummed along beautifully. But today we're taking those robust smart contracts and wiring them directly to the user interface. No more operating in the dark. We are tackling front-end transaction handling. This is exactly where we bridge the gap between your ERC-1155 smart contracts and the actual user interface. It is absolutely the perfect next step in your Web3 journey. So, let's get into it. Okay, let's take a super quick look at our blueprint for today. We're going to map out the transaction journey, construct the payload, manage UI states, create the optimistic UI illusion, debug common failures, and then wrap it all up with a lab checkpoint. All right, diving right into section 1, the transaction journey. Let's map out this path. You know, in Web3, when a user clicks transfer, they aren't actually moving anything immediately. It's really just an intent. Think of guiding this intent exactly like mailing a highly secure package. Step 1 is constructing the payload, so writing the letter and putting it in the envelope. Step 2 is signer authorization, where the user seals and stamps it using their wallet. Step 3 is the broadcast, literally physically handing it over to the post office, or in our case, the network. And finally, step 4 is tracking the receipt to get that sweet delivery confirmation. Literally every single Web3 transaction follows this precise engineering flow. Moving right along to section 2, constructing the payload, which is all about building out that raw data. Okay, so to translate a user's intent into blockchain language, you basically have two approaches. On the left side here, you can manually hand code the two data and value fields. That gives you total control, sure, but man, there is plenty of room to break things. On the right side, we have signer-bound contract methods using something like contract.connect. We highly recommend this route. Why? Because it handles all the messy API encoding, gas estimation, and nonce tracking entirely for you under the hood. It's exactly like driving a car with an automatic transmission instead of a clunky manual. Now, no matter which method you end up using, these are your absolute essential payload components. You need the method, something like safeBatchTransferFrom. You need the calldata, which are your ABI-encoded parameters. For ERC-1155 token transfers, your value field is almost always 0, since we aren't sending native ETH as payment for the token itself. And finally, gas hints and the nonce. You can think of the nonce as basically just taking a ticket at the deli counter, right? It just lets the network know what order you're in. And whether you're doing a single or batch transfer, packing those arrays into calldata perfectly is absolutely crucial before you hand it off to the signer. Next up is section 3, managing UI states, to really dial in that user experience. So, we really want to replace the dreaded spinner of doom with genuinely helpful feedback. We always start at idle, where your buttons are fully active. The second they click, boom, we move to pending. The transaction is broadcasted, so we show a nice spinner, but we strictly disable repeated sends so the user doesn't accidentally double spend. From there, we either hit success, where the block is officially mined and we celebrate with a little success toast, or failure, where we gracefully show an error and offer them a quick retry. Keeping the user totally in the loop at every single step of this mechanical process is the real secret to an amazing UX.
Now, a great question you might be asking right about now is, just how long do we wait for a receipt? Well, we use a method called provider.waitForTransaction to constantly pull for block confirmations. But hey, here is a massive pro tip for you. Always remember to include a timeout fallback. If a network just totally drops a transaction, your users should not be left hanging indefinitely watching a spinning wheel. Give it a sensible limit, say a couple of minutes, and then just offer them an alternative.
All right, section 4, the optimistic UI illusion. This is where we talk about perceived speed. Now we arrive at a super fun bit of front-end magic that makes the sometimes clunky blockchain feel as lightning fast as a Web2 database. Optimistic UI essentially means we update the interface immediately upon the user signing the transaction. We just assume success to drastically improve that perceived latency. For things like transferring a low-frequency token, we change the front-end state right away, making the app feel beautifully instantaneous, even while the blockchain is still grinding away doing its thing in the background. But there is a catch here. If you are going to be optimistic, you must follow the golden rule of optimism. Always use a clear visual indicator that the state is provisional until it is actually confirmed. If the blockchain eventually says nope and the transaction fails, you absolutely must be able to roll those changes back. Just mark it with a little loading icon or a subtle pending tag, just so the user knows it's not set in stone quite yet. Which brings us to Section 5, debugging common failures. It's time to fix those little mechanical hiccups. Because sometimes our perfectly engineered machine hits a snag. First up, error, nonce out of order. Remember our deli tickets from earlier? Well, if you see this error, it means multiple concurrent transactions were sent from the exact same wallet, and the network got totally confused about who is next in line. You can fix this easily by either queuing transactions client-side or something relying entirely on the signer's built-in nonce assignment rather than trying to manage it manually yourself. Now, what about gas estimation failures or out-of-gas reverts? Okay, a super common rookie mistake is to just throw infinite gas at an out-of-gas error. Please don't do that. It is literally like pouring gasoline on a broken engine. Actually, scratch that. It's just burning your user's money. Instead, always use provider.call to simulate the transaction. This acts like an X-ray, letting you run the call locally without changing the state, which allows you to catch the actual underlying revert reason hidden underneath the surface. Another fantastic tool in your debugging toolkit is replace by fee, or RBF. If a transaction gets stuck pending forever, maybe the network got busy and gas prices randomly spiked, you can offer the user a replace by fee option. This resubmits a brand new transaction using the exact same nonce, but with a higher gas price to essentially bribe the network into unsticking it and pushing it through. It's a lifesaver. And finally, Section 6, lab checkpoint and wrap-up. Time to test your skills. Okay, it's time to put all this awesome theory into practice. In your lab, you're going to validate your front-end flow in 3 specific steps. Step 1, send a single transfer and watch your UI states change in real time. Step 2, send a batch transfer and make sure you explicitly check the gas estimation since that calldata is much larger. And Step 3, purposefully simulate a revert. Try transferring a token you don't even own just to guarantee your error messages and UI rollbacks are working perfectly. To wrap up our explainer today, let's just quickly review our main architectural principles. Rely heavily on your signer-bound calls to avoid encoding mistakes. Keep your UI states cleanly separated from the on-chain state. Use optimistic UI responsibly with extremely clear visual markers. Always anticipate mechanical hiccups like nonce mismatches or gas failures, and make sure to build in clear recovery paths like retries or replace by fee. I want to leave you with this foundational quote. The front end orchestrates intent, the signer authorizes intent, and the network finalizes intent. If you keep these 3 distinct roles cleanly separated in your mental model, I promise you debugging and building incredibly complex Web3 front ends will become an absolute breeze. Completing this lab sets you up perfectly for our very next lesson, consolidating integration and capstone readiness. Next time, we're going to harden these exact transaction flows for real-world production and finalize your preparations for the big capstone project. You are really building some truly professional-grade skills here. So, what seamless, stress-free transaction experiences will you engineer next? I am so excited to see what you build. Thank you so much for exploring this architectural blueprint with me today on this explainer. To master more of these critical Web3 concepts and dive even deeper into this track, be sure to visit forge.college to continue your amazing learning journey. See you next time.